Hi, PAD 744. I wanted to talk a little bit today about memos, since I know all of you are working on them, and there are several handouts online that give very specific information on how to either plan your memo or write your memo, to think about the topic for your memo, how to organize it. So once again, we're talking about the noun and the verb, right? The actual memo itself, and then the process of writing the memo. And memos are a very effective way to communicate complex information, give an opinion, make recommendations, and a way that organizations use to inform people about what is going on and to provide summaries of analysis. So it's important to learn the skill. And as we know, that's used even up in the executive branches. There's always a lot of talk in the newspaper about memos and how they've been used in hiring and firing. So important to think about what's your subject, what is it you want to convey, and really to organize the material, because the reader will only have a limited amount of time that they can pay attention to this. They want the information presented in a concise manner. So too much information and they'll be overwhelmed, but too little information and they won't understand what's going on. So a good, rule of thumb is to have a memo be no longer than 2 pages. There's an art to it. It's harder to make a shorter memo than a longer one. One can include attachments, particularly when one is talking about numbers. So if one is putting a number, like $4,500, you might in parentheses show how you arrived at that. What are your assumptions? Or you might just include an attachment later on to show how one arrived at the numbers, particularly if it's a complex situation. So, all stories, when you think about what's the first thing we think about when we write, it's once upon a time. So that's the same thing with memos. It's, one wants to give the overview, what's going on, and then the detail. And I gave you a very nice article on headlines, because how you label the memo, how you title it, even though there's no title, there's a re section, RE, which is the subject. And, whatever you put there is going to influence how the person's going to view the memo. And the same thing with the first paragraph. The first paragraph, which is really your opening paragraph, is really where you're presenting, in a way, the summary. But a lot of times, so when you start writing, the process of writing is that you will start writing and you might have an idea what your summary is going to be. But once you write the memo, you might actually come up with some different conclusions. So then once you write your memo and you have a summary section, you can go back to the first paragraph and reorganize it and re-edit it so that the reader knows where it's going. Because a lot of times people won't even have the time to get through the whole memo. And then in terms of the way it looks, you want to have sections and have headings and subheadings so that it makes it easier not only for the reader to follow, but then when people keep referring to the document and they're sharing it in a team meeting, it's very easy to find which paragraph or which section is being referred to. So there's lots of handouts, and I'm sure you'll all do a good job, and it's a process. So every memo, one always gets better. And, after years of writing memos, there's a format one follows, but when one is presenting complex information, it's not easy to distill it to its essence, which is in effect when you look at a good newspaper article. Also, they are taking a subject and distilling it to its essence. I hope this helps.